Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to our Sipurei Amenu, the stories of our people. I am Rabbi Heidi Cohen of HaNefesh and Jew by You. It is an honor to have you all here and to introduce my wonderful colleague and friend, Rabbi Marcia.
Hi, so happy to be with you. I am Rabbi Marcia Tilchin, the founder of the Jewish Collaborative of Orange County, a community-wide organization that builds community through collaboration. And it's a great privilege to be here with you, Rabbi Heidi, a longtime dear friend and someone that is a mentor to me in the community. And, we did one of these conversations actually early on in the book of Genesis, a long time ago. And I feel really excited that we get to close out this season together. That's very special. And I thought it would be appropriate this morning, this Shabbos, to just take a moment and really think about how lucky we are to be able to be here and have these conversations openly and in safety. And really, as we think about our brothers and sisters all over the world, and particularly in Ukraine, who are just being bombarded and attacked, I thought we could just open with sort of some focus meditations on peace. There's a beautiful reading in the Sidur Sim Shalom. It's a prayer for peace. I'd love to read a few lines, and then I would love if you have something to share. I think that would be very special. May we see a day when war and bloodshed cease, when a great peace will embrace the whole world. Then nation will not threaten nation, and mankind will not again know war. For all who live on earth shall realize we have not come into being to hate or to destroy. We have come into being to praise, to labor, and to love. Let love and justice flow like a mighty stream. Let peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea. And I invite all of you watching to say, Amen.
Amen. Here we are in the second week of this terrible, terrible war. Ukraine is a place that I definitely can say many of us have familial connections to. When we think about our ancestors who either came to America or went to Israel, many came from that very region. And so I want to share with you this blessing that was written by Joanne Fink. Holy One, source of strength, war has begun and innocent people are dying. We ask your protection for Ukraine and its citizens. We pray for their safety and the security of the country, and for the neighboring countries, Hungary, Poland, and Romania, among others, that have opened their borders to provide humanitarian corridors and safe passage for all those who wish to evacuate. We seek the comfort of believing that everything will be all right, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Quiet the fears that threaten to deafen us. Grant us shlemut, the inner peace we so desperately seek. Help us remain calm and reach out to those in need. May this horrific situation be diffused swiftly with minimal casualties. Bless our world leaders with the ability to work together for the greater good and the wisdom to make wise decisions during this turbulent time. Bless the people of all nations with the desire, strength, and courage to create a world based on justice and filled with peace. May the words of Isaiah, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore, become true in our day, in this very hour. Source of goodness, shine your healing light on us and all those in the Ukraine we hold in our hearts. Shelter us, shield us, show us the path to peace, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And
Absolutely. So much work to be done. And just a quick note, there's so much that we all can be doing. I know that we all feel that there is nothing that we can do. We're so far away, but there is. So I know that our own federation, who by the way is hosting this wonderful program of ours, has a campaign that's going every little bit.
And Hyas is also, there's a number of places where you can donate. Certainly the financial resources that are much needed, and other ways that we can all show our support and solidarity. And, as I think the most important thing is, may it be over quickly. And I think we're all too familiar with, Heidi, the undercurrent of what led up to this
Mhm.
has been something that Jewish people have understood for thousands of years, which an unprovoked hatred is far too close for comfort in every way, and also a thirst for power and greed and all that comes with that. And I think that's sort of probably a healthy way to segue into finding comfort from our Torah reading this morning. We're at the end of the book of Exodus, and what basically happened last week, and what's kind of actually really that's what Vayakhel was about, is the once everybody in the community who was ready to start moving away from Sinai towards their future as an independent people in an independent land, as people were getting ready to figuring out how we're going to leave what felt like the home of God at the foot of the mountain into how do you carry God with you? And we'll talk a little bit about creation, in the sense that when God created the world, God was hovering over and everywhere all the time. But this was different. These people are at a different place in history and needed to feel the presence of God with them. So God had the idea saying, you know what? Let everybody give something, and they'll
Mhm.
build a house for me to dwell, not really a house, but a movable house. And not only that, I'm going to give them exact instructions, and they're going to provide the materials, and then they're going to do it, and we're going to be like this, like the best, so that's what happened last week. And this week opens up when it says Ele Pekudei HaMishkan, Mishkan Ha'edat Asher Pukad Al Pi Moshe, etc. These are the records of their tabernacle, the tabernacle of the pact that were drawn up at Moses' bidding. And what they did was they didn't just build it according to God's instructions, but they kept track of how every ounce of gold, every ounce of silver. I thought that was really interesting, that, that sense of responsibility when people give voluntary donations. I'd love to know your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I find, first of all, the accountability with it, everybody always asks the questions. Where did the Israelites get all of this stuff?
Right.
Especially my favorite question is dolphin skins? We're in the
Yeah.
desert.
Yeah.
Where did we get those? So I think that that whole idea of like, okay, we have all of this stuff, whether it was that which we brought out of Egypt with us, or whether it was, there's even commentary that says, God actually put all of those materials in the desert for them to find. It was like this great scavenger hunt.
Oh, wow.
And so to collect it all in order to build exactly that tabernacle, the Mishkan, exactly to specification. And I love the accountability idea, right? That whole concept of being able to say, okay, not only here are the blueprints that God gives to us that says, this is how I want you to build it, this is what I want it to look like, but it's also the accountability to say, here's what we've put into it. And we want it, and here's how we have used it.
Right.
And I think it's not only for that generation who is there in the desert, but I think it's for the future generations as well. Because when we acknowledge what the past generations have put into that building of the Mishkan, to building of the space, to say, here's what we brought, our offerings, our, from our hearts and from our souls and from our very fabric of who we are. And then, to have that clear record, not only from God, but also from the people, so that there's this connection, and also that ownership, and also that responsibility that just as generations have given in the past as well to build that mishkan, so too is it our responsibility to continue to bring those, and to continue to build that mishkan in however whatever form it is. That form is in so many different ways, not only, by the way, the physical, as you and I both know, it's not just the physical, it's also what we do, right? What we do, how we build Judaism in that sacred space.
Well, it's funny that you just made me think about something, which is that the tabernacle is intentionally impermanent. I mean, it's pretty I mean, when it's set up, it's not like you break it up down like a pop-up tent, but
Right.
it's impermanent. What is permanent is the presence of God. And I do think that, building community, sort of, without elegant structure is the modern way to realize that God will be wherever
Right.
a group of people come together and invite God to dwell. And that is something I think that we think about, both of us, a lot.
So actually, can I just, because wow, boom, I love this. This is what's so great about these dialogues is we're like, okay, hey, so here's what you just said, okay, that permanence of God being there. Think of it like this too. How do we see God within the space during this parasha and the parashiot before? You know, this pillar of cloud and of fire. I mean, it's not solid, right? It flows and so forth, which is so beautiful as well, because yes, we want to have that presence of God, of the divine, and so forth, but also being really careful to not fall into the trap of the golden calf, of idolatry and so forth, to not make we want to have a connection with God, that God's presence is there in the mishkan, and whether it's the physical mishkan or the mishkan within our hearts and souls, but also that presence of God into that which we can't hold. I can't hold on to that cloud. I can't hold on to that fire, yeah, because I'll get burned. So it's a whole other way to kind of look at that one.
Well, every time we light a yahrzeit candle or a memorial candle, I think that the notion that a fire by night and cloud by day, because people they weren't going to hear the lightning and the thunder anymore.
Yeah.
Although obviously because they needed to build the golden calf, meaning they needed to see something, there was a recognition in the God of Israel in its infancy that they kind of needed to know that their mother or their father was like at least around the corner when they started to walk away and develop some autonomy. It's a really interesting notion of, being birthed out of the sea of reeds as it parts, and then, becoming toddlers and learning how to walk. And I think it's like self-definition. But you make me think about something else, which is actually another relationship between the Mishkan and creation.
Mhm.
We know the whole story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and life is perfect and they have everything they need, but suddenly they get woke, they do something wrong, and they realize that they have to hide. And of course, like God, they say God is walking through the garden, now in the wind, right?
Right.
And it's interesting that God is wind in creation and God is fire and smoke in the Mishkan, really harkens to, or actually buttresses the idea that the creation of the Mishkan is the next step in the perfection of the creation of the world.
Yeah.
And there's even in chapter 39 at the very end, when we're sort of summing up what happened, it says they brought to the tabernacle to Moses. Everybody finished their work. The furnishings, its clasps, its planks, its bars, its posts, its sockets, continue down, the sacral vestments for officiating the sanctuary, and for Aaron and the priest, etc. And then it says, Vayar Moshe et kol hamelacha. And when Moses saw that they had performed all of the tasks that the Lord had commanded. So they had done. Vayavarech otam Moshe. Moses blessed them. And
Yeah.
when I read that, what I hear is, and God saw that it was, and God saw what he had created, that it was good. And the first day or the third day, I think that Vayar Moshe is not an accident. And I'd love
Exactly.
to know your thoughts on that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that wonderful connection of, 39:43, that last piece right there. And the fact that Moses blessed them, right? So, and Moses, blessing the people there. So definitely ties back to creation. And actually, I would throw in that one there, tying that into to Shabbat, because here we are at Shabbat. If we look back at Genesis 2, verse 3, so vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vayikadesh oto ki vo shavat mikol malachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done. When we bring this beautiful connection of God creating the world and all that is within it, I mean, when we think about it, yeah, it is the vestments. It's the wood that goes into the tabernacle. It's the threads. It's all of the color. It's everything that we see within creation
Yeah.
is combined into that. And then at the very end, God there in Bereshit takes a step back and says,
And he blesses it all, just
yeah, this
Moses
is
blessed the people.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good. My gosh, look at all of this.
Lovely.
And Moses is taking a step back because this concept, right? But B'Tselem Elohim, we are created in God's image. God gives us the seventh day to bless the seventh day. And at the same time, for us to take a step back, what a cool reminder. Take a step back, see what we are doing, see what we are creating. Take a breath and bless. I mean, it's a beautiful connection between the two and for each of us as well.
Um, there's a lot there. I mean, the whole timing of this event, and by the way, in the Haftarot, it doesn't just end with creation to the Mishkan, but of course that then extends to the building of the temple. And of course the Haftarot for Vayakhel and Pekudei are both from Kings, the story of how Solomon actually was able to build the actual temple in Jerusalem, which some would say is sort of the next step.
Mhm.
But what that says to me, by the way, is that even the best ideals two things, they do not last forever, and they can become defiled, because we know what happens to that temple. We know that the priests, started to profit from their own gain. That there wasn't accountability. And when we think about the decline of, the first commonwealth of Jewish life in ancient Israel, and then again, even more so in the second, with the building of the second temple, we understand that God's world could be perfect, but we can screw it up, which, by the way, we are doing right now. The Mishkan could have been perfect, but the Israelites ended up having to schlep it around for 40 years instead of 2. Why? Because they weren't ready to go into the land. I mean, at every stage, we all have to, every moment of every day, protect and guard against the things that are natural human tendencies that can upset the beauty and the perfection of divine effort. And I just think it's a good thing to keep in mind.
Oh, absolutely. But I also try not to always go down the road, because there's so many different commentaries that say, well, they did this wrong, they did that wrong, and that led to the destruction of the first and second temples. And that we have to be so aware of that and careful of that as well in our world, because unfortunately, there are those people who will say, oh, well, they must have done something wrong, so therefore they are deserving of, and especially with what is going on in our world today, with what we are seeing, especially in Ukraine, and the innocent lives, and the people who, they want to be free, they want to live their lives, and they are crying as they are crossing the border from Ukraine into Poland and into other places to find safety. But the words that are on their lips is, we're going to be back. We
Yeah.
want to come back. Unfortunately, there was a grandmother who I was, listening to, though, on the radio, who said, I may not make it back, because of her age. She's like, I may not ever make it back to Ukraine, or actually to where she originally came from, to Russia. And that pain. And so when we look at, yes, I mean, there are so many things that we can be doing, that we need to be repairing in our world, that we can be doing differently, that we have to be aware of our actions, and how each action there's a reaction, and it's a chain, and so forth. But at the same time, these innocent lives are just, that they did nothing wrong but live and want to be free, and
In a
and
democracy, I mean,
in democracy, exactly. So that right there, such a challenge, with that too. And but the accountability. So go back then. Let's go back to where we started, and we'll bring this to our close. Right, the accountability. How are we taking our gifts that we have? How are we taking the accountability of what we build and what we create? And not just keep it, there to ourselves, but how do we share it? How do we then use those gifts to take care of others in order to bring about, shlemut, to bring about shalom, to bring about peace?
yes, I hear you, and that is the charge for each of us every day, and certainly right now. And I love the fact that brought us to this moment. And because this is the last parsha in the book of
Exactly.
Exodus, as we close every parsha with, we say the following words. We say chazak, chazak, benit, chazek. Be strong, and be of good courage, and strengthen yourselves. And I can't think of a more why we say that at the end of every book of the Torah. That's a separate conversation, including the fact that to really wrestle with Torah is not, it's not a walk in the park. It does take a lot of courage to read these sacred texts and find meaning and relevance, and acceptance of some of the difficult passages in each book of the Torah. So, we do need that strength, but it's also a way of saying congratulations that you completed this pericope of material or so. But I think more than anything, to do what you were saying, chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, that at this moment, we need to all be of strong and be strengthened by one another, and where our hearts take us. I wanted to ask you something. I know that there's a song, I don't know it, that is set to the words chazak. Is there a song called chazak that you could hum a few bars of in this? Or I'm because I know you have a beautiful voice.
Thanks. Okay, so it actually is the Shabbat song, from Julie Silver. Candles burn in the window on this Friday night. So, and then the chorus says, Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek. Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, and we will be strengthened. Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek.
I love that, and may it be so. Thank you so much for closing us out with this beautiful song. And I don't know, Heidi, if anyone's done this, but I want to thank Josh Friedman, who
Yes.
has been the producer for all of these shows for Sipurei Reshit and Sipurei Amenu. Josh, who is with us right now, but people won't be able to see him, has been a joy to work with and very supportive. And we're most grateful to you for all the things that you do in our community to enrich the Jewish community and broadly. And you're also a man of great tzedakah, and we appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Josh, so very, very much. It was an honor to have you on a few weeks ago. We pulled him in. It was great to one of our sessions. And so, Josh, thank you for all that you do and all you do for our community. May you also continue in great strength as well.
And a shout out to Federation for opening their opening up this opportunity, and specifically to Rabbi Nico Sokolovsky, who I think this was his brainchild, and really it has done so much to help the rabbis of the community feel closer to one another. And so we thank you, Rabbi Nico, for all you've done. Everybody, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us today. And as you venture into the book of Leviticus, Vayikra, which is coming up next week, it doesn't seem that exciting, but let me tell you, there are great secrets to uncover. So don't stop setting.
There are. All right. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.